All right, everyone. Let's dive right in. New Twisters movie. Talk about a whirlwind of hype, right?
Yeah, it's been tough to sift through all the reviews, figure out what's what.
Exactly. That's what we're here for, to clear the air a bit, help you decide, is Twisters a trip to the theater?
Or are we staying in and streaming something else? Big question. We've done the tornado chasing through reviews.
Oh, so you don't have to.
Exactly.
One thing's for sure, just about everyone agrees.
Mm-hmm.
Those visuals. Intense.
Oh, yeah, they went all out.
I was reading some reviews, they called the effects visually attractive.
Yeah.
Impactful.
Intense is right. CGI's come a long way since the original. Back then you knew it was fake, but now,
A whole different ballgame.
this time the destruction feels unsettlingly real. Makes you think, though, are killer effects enough to carry a movie?
Now that is the question, isn't it? $1 million question, because some folks loved it, others not so much.
It's like they blew the budget on the storm and forgot to, write a story around it.
Interesting, because speaking of the story, I noticed a lot of reviews saying, bit of a slow start.
Yeah, kind of predictable, paint by numbers, plot, at least for the first bit.
I did see a few saying things really get going after that rodeo scene, though.
Okay, so it picks up. But that makes you wonder about that buildup, right? The calm before the storm. The best disaster movies, they make you care what's at stake before anything even happens.
Oh, for sure.
Like, think about Jaws. Spielberg, he made you terrified of the water before you ever saw the shark.
So true.
Did Twisters nail that same tension? Reviews aren't so sure.
And that leads us to what might be the weakest link, from what I've gathered the characters.
Oh, no, really?
I'm seeing words like flat, predictable,
Oof.
even lacking chemistry, which, ouch, especially compared to that original cast, they had that spark.
It's tough. Sequels, right. Hard to recapture that magic. And what makes a good disaster movie character anyway, it's that, would I want to be stuck in a storm cellar with this person, feeling, you're trapped with them, the pressure's on, they got to be interesting.
Right. You're rooting for them to outrun the danger, but also you kind of just want to hang out with them like they're your buddies.
Totally. But it sounds like Twisters, maybe they missed the mark there, went for big names instead of big personalities.
Yeah, I get you. Like they had the checklist, quirky scientist, check,
Yeah.
grizzled veteran, check, but forgot to make them feel like real people. And even the humor, from what I've read, feels kind of forced. One review even called out that chicken on the car scene.
Oh, yeah, that didn't land.
Let's just say it ruffled some feathers. It's a tough line to walk, right? Finding the funny in a disaster without being, well, insensitive.
Totally. It's all about balance.
So we've got the visuals, stunning, plot, maybe a bit predictable, and characters, well.
Not exactly blowing anyone away.
Starting to wonder, is this twister worth chasing? What do you think? You know, it's funny, right? Disaster movies, they're all about things going wrong, and yet we eat them up.
It's that whole experiencing danger from a safe distance thing, isn't it?
Right, like a little vicarious thrill ride.
Plus, there's just something about seeing Mother Nature at her, most extreme.
Totally. It's primal. So I'm curious, when it comes to twisters, how they do with that whole man versus nature thing. The original, it really made you feel the power of the storm, but also that human need to understand it,
Yeah, a lot of reviews touched on that. Some felt like this new one, maybe it leans a little too hard on the spectacle, like they went for bigger is better, but maybe lost some of that nuance.
Interesting. Like, it's one thing to show a tornado, it's another to make you really feel it.
Exactly. The best disaster movies, they make you question your place in the world, remind you that we're not always in control, which can be terrifying, but also kind of exhilarating.
Oh, totally. Okay, so speaking of exhilarating, what about the pacing? Is it a nonstop thrill ride, or are there parts where it drags a bit?
A few reviewers did say that the first act is surprisingly slow. Yeah, they spent a lot of time with setup, characters, tech, all that, which makes sense, but it doesn't quite have that urgency you expect from a disaster flick.
I can see that. It's like they were going for that slow burn of the original. But like you said, sometimes you just want to get to the good stuff.
Right. Especially with a title like Twisters. You go in expecting, twisters. And to be fair, when the action does kick in, it sounds intense.
Oh, okay. So it delivers on the tornado front eventually.
It does, but that slow start might throw some people off.
For sure, for sure. Okay, gotta ask, sequels. Always a gamble, but a sequel to something as, iconic as Twisters, that's a tall order. How's it
Ah.
stack up to the original, according to the reviews?
Ooh, that's the question, isn't it? Nostalgia's a powerful thing, and people love that 96 film.
Totally.
Some reviewers, they just didn't feel that same magic this time around. Like the original Twisters, it had heart, humor, that soundtrack, hard to beat.
Oh, don't even get me started on that soundtrack.
Yeah.
Pure 90s gold.
Right. So this new one, it's trying to find its footing, balance, paying homage to the original with appealing to a whole new audience.
Talking a tightrope walk.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
You've got the hardcore fans who want that same feeling. Then you've got folks who maybe weren't even born when the first one came out.
It's like, how do you please everyone?
Right. And that's where it gets interesting because at the end of the day, it's all subjective. What works for one person might fall totally flat for someone else.
So true. One person's too predictable is another person's comfortingly familiar. Now, let's be real. Sometimes you just want a movie that lets you turn off your brain for a couple hours.
Absolutely. There's room for all kinds of movies, all kinds of experiences.
For sure. Speaking of which, you know those little Easter eggs filmmakers like to throw in?
Mm.
For the fans who are really paying attention, any mention of those in the reviews for Twisters? I gotta say, I love those little details in movies, the ones that reward you for knowing the source material. Did Twisters deliver on that front?
Oh, there were definitely some fun Easter eggs. One review mentioned a cameo appearance by, get this, Dorothy. Remember that?
Wait, seriously, from the first movie? That's amazing. See, that's what I'm talking about. Little winks to the fans.
It's like the filmmakers are in on the joke, They get it. And apparently they even recreated some of the storm chasing gear, like down to the old school trucks.
Ah, man, those trucks. Classic. There's something about that, like cobbled together tech that just works.
Exactly. It has that whole, we're scrappy, we make do energy that fits perfectly with disaster movies.
Love it. Okay, so we've talked visuals, characters, sequels, even Easter eggs. But it all comes down to this.
Yeah.
Is Twisters worth seeing in theaters?
The million-dollar question. And honestly, it depends. What kind of movie experience are we looking for?
All right, lay it on me. What are our options?
So if you're that diehard Twisters fan, the one who wore out the VHS, this one might not have that same magic, gotta be honest.
That's fair enough.
But if you're up for a fun, visually awesome ride, some good popcorn entertainment, and hey, those Easter eggs we talked about, go for it.
So set those expectations accordingly.
Exactly. It's its own thing, different from the original, but still a good time at the movies.
I like it. And hey, isn't that part of the fun? Seeing a movie, forming your own opinion, maybe even revisiting the original, seeing it in a new light.
Totally. That's what it's all about.
For sure. I'm so curious to hear what everyone thinks. Will this one become a classic like the original? Who knows? But in the meantime, let us know what you thought. Head over to our website, our socials. Let's keep this conversation going.
We love a good movie debate.
And on that note, that wraps up our deep dive into Twisters. We've weathered the storm of reviews, broken it all down, maybe even convinced you to dig up that old VHS. Until next time, keep exploring, stay curious, and most importantly, keep diving deep.